All right, pledge allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is the door unlocked so people can come in?
Yep. All right. We have no public, so no public participation. Just for the record, we're late because we started off with an executive session, and so we're back into the public session. Everybody should have some minutes in front of them somewhere. There we go.
Just one, right?
Yep, June 7th.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Paul, just so again, just trying to help as you go through things. Mm-hmm. The reason the minutes are abbreviated the way they are is because we videotape everything. So all the detailed discussion and everything else is on video. So we predominantly just put in motions in here to make these fairly brief. Yep. There's just no need to, because again, why put everything on the video? You know, you can watch the video and see the full discussion rather than trying to summarize.
How long does the video stay in history?
As long as YouTube is out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there was no time.
Well, right, and the other thing is and the reason why we have any minutes is because it's required to have the motions. Mm-hmm. The discussion isn't required. What is required is the motions, and so that's why, for some reason, something happened with YouTube and all videos on YouTube got erased for whatever reason. Then we at least are meeting the law by having this. Right. So does that make sense? So I'm just saying that if you're wondering why, gee, these are awful brief, a lot briefer than they used to be.
Yeah, we said 3 pages.
Right. Exactly. So. Make a motion to accept the Thursday, June 7th minutes as written.
Second.
All those in favor? Any abstentions?
Did you get that? Yep.
Paperwork.
This all I have is the policies and my treasurer just
All right. So this is the same one that we did. We actually adopted this back in March, but now it's new. We're trying to, for the new year, plus we have a new selectman. So we already know. Basically, it's for wages and benefits. So it's essentially allowing just one signature. I'll let you look at it.
Doesn't it have the rest of it too? The school and state. Remember we amended that, didn't we?
Does it have that on there?
I think so. It should, because we did that.
Let's check. So that binder there is the MetroCast, the current one. So we're going to bounce that off of that, and then we'll vote on it next week. Supposedly it's very similar to the same, but don't know.
And how long is this for?
I haven't gotten that far yet.
Oh,
I haven't looked at it yet.
Two problems. I'm not calling that over here.
Yeah.
And maybe I should have penciled it.
Go in one line that one out.
Municipal officer. R-can.
Municipal officers can sign this person works for municipal, yep. And
Paul couldn't let go.
I know, I guess not.
Did you type this?
That one I didn't do.
that's Jordan?
Yes.
But, yeah, you should have
Changed
that.
it. He changed it here, but he didn't change it.
Yeah.
So.
Get him to fix that. But does it say state and school? Did it say state and school too, besides wages?
Yes. Doesn't read right.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, but this doesn't. Can you redo this and then get the word from him? Just the reason I say that is you have that, but there's X here. So it's IV, then it goes X with a box around it for some reason. And then you
I
notice,
thought you did that.
then you notice the IX.
You did it.
No, I didn't do this.
I thought you did.
Or Jordan just handed this to me right
So
before the meeting.
my thinking is this probably should be at the end,
Okay.
right? Just saying any of the, but I just don't understand if anything else needs to change.
Alright.
Do you follow what I'm saying?
Yep.
If that X should be there, then it shouldn't be X, it should be whatever, right? If this is out of place.
Will it be 4 if I take this out and put it towards on the end?
Huh? Well, it would say X and then everything else would just shift up. Right?
Well, if you're taking out paragraph 4 and putting it
No,
on the end.
I'm not taking out paragraph 4, I'm taking out paragraph X.
I thought you were putting this on the end though.
No, X I'm putting in the end, that's X.
Oh, okay.
That's 10, that goes at,
Alright, I see what you mean. I thought you
so that was
were
IX, so that X goes after that. But
Okay.
I don't know why it's there.
Alright, I see what you're saying.
Or if Jordan wants it here, well then this would be V and
Right.
it would be renumbered down.
Okay.
You follow what I'm saying?
Go ask him.
Was that that's the only paperwork we have, right? Alright.
Alright.
Right, welcome. That's part of this on my agenda. Welcome, meet and greet. We all know each other, so that's a fairly easy one. And then basically I've got a list. You probably have a list of questions or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
Want me to do your list first, and then we'll see what we already covered, and I can
Yeah.
go through that.
To the
Laura made this.
Hi, it's Laura that
I forwarded it to you before.
This is the one you forwarded. I mean, I might have forgot to change somebody's last name on accident.
but you sent me this, so I don't know why X is here.
I don't know either, but you can go in and fix it.
I thought Jenny was supposed to fix it.
Nobody even sent it to me.
You're CC'd on the email. I'll pull it up.
Okay, I see according to the minutes that you have filled the deputy town clerk position.
Yes.
What's happening with the road commissioner slot?
Okay, on my list. So, we put it out for a foreman. So we put it out, as essentially a foreman to fill, basically to perform the duties of the road commissioner. So, and we have 2 resumes here that we just got Monday, I think. And so that's, up until then, we hadn't done anything because we hadn't had any interest.
Okay.
No interest had been expressed.
Or money.
So
There's another question coming up.
well, there's no money now, anyways. I mean, this wasn't gonna happen, and so we did it, and it would be effective as of July 1. So what we've been doing, so right now, between now and the end of the year, what we've been doing for roads is literally we have our one laborer who puts in 24 hours a week. And he's just going around patching holes. That's it. That's all we have the money for. We have no more money in roads. We had SDS grade a road, Lower Guinea. And they're gonna bill us after July 1st. Because that road was really, really, really bad. So they did the town a favor, they did us a favor by doing it and then waiting on billing us until after July 1st. So that's really where we're at. And so we don't have any money to do anything else. We already got a paving bid in, so we went with FR Carroll. So that's all set. So we're just waiting to hear back from them as far as scheduling time. The roads that we're looking to do are there's a section from Lower Guinea, from Long Swamp to Sawtell. That's had already been basically prepped, so it just needs to be fine graded and paved. So basically the road's already set to do. So that's the easiest part. And that gets, for some reason, gets really marked with potholes everywhere. But it's actually a good section of road. So that they're gonna do. They are going to put top coats on Shapley Road and on TM Wentworth. So we kind of went through because what's been happening over the last umpteen million years, I don't know, but they do one base coat, they do the regular base, and they never put a top coat on.
No seal.
Yeah.
And so what happens is that, and he basically says, a lot of times you want to wait till after 1 year to let things settle a little bit, and then you do it. But then what happens is it never gets done on the following year. And so so that's why I'm doing Shapley before it gets bad. So you want it, and I'm doing TM1. I mean, that's where we're trying to get those done. They're also a little bit cheaper because you're not doing much with the road. You just put the top on. So, and then we're hoping to try to get the road ground, the rest of Lower Guinea, the part that's paved, you get that ground, and you get the rest of that built up culvert work done, just get that prepped for the following year to pave. Because the rest of it's not ready to be paved yet, it's gotta get prepped. Parts have to be built up, you gotta bring in gravel, you gotta bring in a bunch of stuff. So we wanna try to get that done, so then the following year that can get a first coat.
Okay.
So that's where we stand for the plan, okay, so that's us trying to figure things out, and I drove around with Frank, Carroll, so looking at all the roads and looking at, we talked about Center Road as a section, but he's not sure it may be too far gone, so I don't know as far as put a top coat on it, they should have put a top coat on, they haven't. We have a road study that got approved.
Right.
So that's actually on my list tonight,
I don't know. Who wants to sign?
to sign the agreement to let them to get it on their schedule to do. And so they'll be down this summer to travel all the roads and to grade them and put them in the database and everything else, and so that will help going forward as far as prioritizing what roads we need to get done and that kind of stuff. So as far as road commissioner, initially our intent was not to appoint a road commissioner.
Mhm.
Initially, the intent was to have somebody, basically perform the duties, but basically we would essentially act like road commissioner as far as that position, and just the foreman would, perform all those duties. That was our initial, correct?
It was. Whether we can
Um,
really do that is kind of up in the air, I think.
What?
Whether, if we appoint someone, whether they are the road commissioner or, as we can
Well, we
do
don't
it.
appoint them, they basically are an employee, a foreman, they just perform the duties of but yeah, I mean, we have to, again, we didn't, up until Monday, we didn't get a thing, and so we were waiting until the new person came in because we didn't wanna necessarily move ahead because you're now with us, and so, so it's open for discussion, it's open for ideas, it's open for, Norm Albert is a retired public works director out of Kittery with over 20 years, 25 years, something like that, who lives here in town. I've thought about reaching out to him, getting some free advice for whatever it's worth, but it's, again, I'm not a road guy.
So we're looking at this until July of next year?
Yeah, because that's when the term would happen. I do know there's a petition out there right now to change the road commissioner to an appointed versus an elected position. If that happens in November, well, then that may, we've also talked about it. So whether that goes on the ballot in November or not, I don't know yet.
Right.
I mean, we haven't decided, and obviously it's, of course, because you're part of that, and there's a petition out there, and it may be, even if we decide not to, if they have enough signatures, then it still may be on the ballot.
Yeah.
So that may change things going forward anyways, as far as but basically Tom had 1 year left.
Okay.
So we're just really, and that's why I think the summer, I'm not too worried about the summer because the roads that we're doing, we don't really have to do much. And the hiring of that road, we can hire that out. We can, you can put out the bid, we can call SDS and say, hey, they do all of that.
Mhm.
But it's more my concern is more the winter. As far as the plowing and handling all that and supervising all that, and
Right.
that's my biggest concern.
Yeah, there's a lot involved in that.
Well, yeah, and unfortunately it's a thankless job at that time. And so, because you're working long hours, and so that's kind of the, so yeah, I don't know. We have two people, so, and I don't know whether they get appointed road commissioner, and then that way, because if they're a foreman, are we paying them hourly? Or are we paying them salary for a certain amount of hours?
Mm-hmm.
Because the winter time, they could be putting in 70 hours a week, depending on the storm.
Right.
So, I don't know how that works. Versus if they're working that and they're working more than 30 or 35 hours or more as an employee, then they get benefits. So again, that's something we all have to discuss.
Right.
We can go into this. We can go into some of this during executive session to discuss personnel. You know what I'm saying? We can go into more on that part.
Yeah.
But that's where that stands. So I don't know, that's a short-winded or long-winded answer to your question, but
No, that's good.
All right.
Only because of lack of understanding. In the event of like a fire, house fire, emergencies, whatever, what does the select board do to support the fire department during one of those events? I know in the past that some selectmen have gone out and purchased water from the town.
We haven't.
Whatever. So.
We haven't in the last year. We haven't done anything.
Okay. So they're basically self-sufficient now.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They have
support crew. They have support.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't. The ambulance will go to a fire to provide that. Yeah. We don't. As far as I'm concerned, I'm getting in the way if I'm there.
Okay.
I'm not qualified. I'm not. So yeah, there's not. I haven't had any inkling that there's a need for us to be there.
Okay.
And he's pretty good about letting us know
Oh yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Good.
Yep.
Takes care of that.
Yeah, he has my cell phone, so if he needs something, he'll text me. So he knows that, so.
Transfer station, how's that being operated now? Used to be
Not much.
manager, and now it's underneath foreman.
It's not much
Like a
different, not
leader?
much different than it was. It's just, there's one person in charge, but they're not considered a department head anymore.
He likes schedules. Is that really what he makes the
Well,
schedule, the work schedule?
That's basically all they ever did anyways, the budget was always really done by the selectmen anyways. And the biggest part of the budget was waste management, which is out of their control anyways.
Right.
So the hours were the scheduling, but the number of hours again is selectmen. So, it really wasn't a lot to it as far as from a department head standpoint. So
I would like to see that position be combined with the road commissioner, and he's be in charge of transfer station.
yeah,
That's just because a lot of public works departments, whoever's in charge of public works in other places is in charge of the transfer station.
Yep.
But that's what, if that ever happens, I don't know, but I don't.
Depends on the candidate that comes up.
And
again, if it's elected, you can't really do that.
No.
Right.
Although I did look in the road manual, we are allowed to do duties for the elected position.
It does say that. See, when we looked in the book, we found something.
So we could have them in charge of the transfer station, even though it's not really roads. But if it's appointed, then that's a different story. Then we could hire somebody, and that's part of the job description that they have is. It's like a mini public works. We don't really have, enough.
I'm growing.
Yeah.
So that's, we have a new solid waste ordinance that just got passed. So, they'll have to implement it. Not much more than that, just so that the commercial haulers have to have a permit.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it. We are doing stickers again. We don't really have a written policy on that. We were trying to work on that, but we've been putting out other fires. So we did get new stickers that are different colors. So at least the intent is to go with a different color every year. So kind of like your inspection sticker, and you get it when you register your vehicle. And then we have cards, same color, but cards for summer residents or a person that needs a one-time card or whatever. So.
Or they don't want a sticker on the car.
Or they don't want a sticker, but we're trying to. I still want to get those somehow in writing, so it's a little bit more defined what that policy is. But I didn't want to hold that up from getting the right stickers. So
I did get one comment when I was doing door-to-door stuff that one gentleman registers multiple cars, so he ended up with multiple stickers. And he only needed one, but he ended up with like 4 or 5. He thought that might be not a good idea if households had extra stickers.
And that's why you have a policy. But the problem is that how do they know how many vehicles you have?
Yeah, that's
and who's to say that I can only bring my trash up on one vehicle? And the other flip side of this is that we're trying to make them check stickers. So how pissed off is the resident going to be? Well, this car's at the shop, so now I took this one, but it doesn't have a sticker. But I'm up there all the time. They'll know me, and they go up there and they don't have a sticker. And sorry, see you later. You gotta. So if they got a car registered here, I guess they get a sticker. That's kind of how I look at it. It's
but they could say, "I don't plan."
If they don't want any, that's fine.
Yeah,
but
they should.
They should say that.
Yeah, I don't want one.
But
I've got 5 cars. I only need one for 2 or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. They can certainly say that. But yeah. But that's the problem with this kind of a thing is it's hard to how do you make it fair for everybody? Right. Same thing that you got a guy that's got a business car, he owns a business, but it's in New Hampshire, but he lives here, and so he doesn't have a personal vehicle because he's got the company vehicle, but it's registered in New Hampshire. Is he can't take his company vehicle to the dump for taking his household trash? You ought to be allowed to do that.
Right.
So that's where we give the card, but it's got to be a sign off. There's got to be some way to prove that. But that's the part of, and so that's all that really hasn't been fleshed out yet into a policy. And it's because it's not really necessarily that easy. the broad concept is easy, but then when you think about all these, but this, or but what if this, or what if that, or what if this, it becomes a much harder
Right.
equation to be fair to everybody. So,
Yeah.
right.
The other thing is the crater at the bottom of the ramp at the transition.
Well, it got filled. I thought they got filled by Tommy this winter, this fall. Yeah. Is it still? Is it reopened?
Yeah.
Okay.
They were talking about that when we were standing at the doorway up there. They said, if one of you guys get elected, get that hole filled.
Well, I mean, it's probably because it comes out and it washes out.
I think it's
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure if that's paved down there. Is it?
No, that's the problem. Is it's not really paved there, so it probably all the water runs out and it washes it out. It probably needs to be paved, but yeah, they can throw some more sand in there. So, we need to get somebody that knows how to drive a backhoe. Hey, Jordan, you know how to use the backhoe? Huh? Yeah. Do you? Yeah. You want to throw some sand in the bottom of the transfer station hill?
And that crater. That's not tarred down there. It's all dirt.
It's
like a big pothole. It's tarred, but it's like a big pothole,
yeah,
so
it
you
needs to
can't.
be. It should really be probably dug out and put drainage in and then fix it that way. But
Wow. So can we just at least do something with it?
yeah, but I mean, if you put sand and water, it's just gonna make mud.
We don't
Well,
have any small stone type, crushed stone type stuff we can throw in there.
Oh, we could get crushed, but we'd probably have to wait until July 1st.
Yeah, I didn't know if we had anything kicking around.
I don't.
What about
I
if you
don't know
put-
what they have up there. I haven't been up there in a couple of years, but probably not because most of the stuff they use would be gravel or sand, and that's just gonna turn to mud.
Yeah, but what with Tommy just put some stuff in there recently.
yeah.
Wow.
So we talked. It was a huge one. It was, and so
Yeah.
he put some stuff, and we talked.
Yeah,
about it.
we
So,
talked
yeah,
about
yeah.
But he might have put stone dust or something. I don't know.
Can you put that on your list to tell the worker, Mike?
Does he know how to use the backhoe?
Yeah.
Oh, he does. Okay. See if we can figure something suitable to throw in that hole, and
Till we can
Was it
figure out what
fixed?
we're gonna do.
Yeah, that's fine.
so all right.
I'll
Thank
have
you.
him probably dump some patch in or something that'll hold up a little bit better.
Yeah.
Get it
Yeah.
fixed. That's fine.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Roadside mowing, has that been awarded?
No.
We haven't done anything about that.
Well, we have, so one thing we did on the mowing bid, we added more stuff. So we have some major intersections are done. So the Center Road intersection on 202, those corners are added to the mowing bid. So there's and then there's another one. It was that one and one other, I thought. So those are more of a visibility thing. That's where they get harder. But the roadside bidding is not. We haven't gotten anybody. Last year we didn't get anybody that award
I don't
bid
think
for
we
it.
did the year before. I don't know. So yeah,
So,
we haven't done that.
But the fact that you brought that up, I've actually been. We just got awarded 50,000. Was it? It was 50,000 for highway equipment for the CIP. One of the purposes of that was to get a loader because the backhoe's been loading salt and sand. I'm not a tractor guy, but from what I'm understanding, the composition of a backhoe with the engine being up front from where the bucket is, that it gets all the dust and the salt and the sand, and it tends to be somewhat corrosive to the radiator and everything else. And so we're trying to save the backhoe by then buying a used loader to load salt and sand. So that was great. Thought was that we have about 10 left in the equipment CIP, so about 60 should be able to get a decent used loader. So that was the plan. Roadside mowing has been, because we have a hard time getting anybody to do it, has been an issue for me trying to, why can't we, so I did some looking. There's these boom, I don't know if you know what a boom mower is, but it's basically a big, and they can reach and mow, and they can go up to like 8 inches. They have a rotary thing that can go up to 8-inch sized trees. And so then I'm looking, well, if we get a loader or we get something, how do we, so what I've been looking into is that if we get a tractor, and you see it even on some of the highways, they have these big tractors, but they have mowers behind them, whatever, but there's also these big tractors that are loaders. I have a bucket for loading. So my thought is can we get one that has a bucket for loading but that also would allow us to put a boom mower on it. So then it loads during the winter, and then we can do our own roadside mowing during the summers. And if you have a boom mower, you can go do all these ditches, you can do all that stuff. So that was kind of and they're not, the boom mower attachments themselves aren't huge money. I mean, not cheap, and they do take a beating, but they're not. So that was a thought. We may not have enough for the boom mower this year, but you might be able to get one for 14, 15 grand. So maybe you get that next year. Maybe you get the loader this year, but with the forethought to then add that, because otherwise the loader's just sitting up there because you don't need that if you got the backhoe.
Right.
So it's only using it for half the year. And quite frankly, it probably would be better if it was out and about working and getting all that salt and sand out of it. Right? I mean,
No, you're right.
I mean, if you have a car, if you let it sit, if you drive it during the winter and you let it sit during the summer, it's going to rust out.
Right.
If you're driving it, airing it out, I mean, I just, we just get one of those big John Deere tractors, Ford tractors, those big, that you can put a loader on. So that's kind of what I'm looking at right now, trying to figure out if we can do that. And then the other thought is, I don't know, when we're trying to buy a used piece of equipment, do we just Google it ourselves? Or there's a lot of brokers out there, whether it be Karen Abbott, got used machinery down here, that they're online. They know all the places all over the place. So, I mean, do we ask them, hey, we're in search for XYZ, we want to do this, see what you can find for us. I don't know, and I don't know whether I'm sure there's others besides there. But that's my thought is maybe to use one of them because
What
they
about
know.
the state when they have surplus stuff or something like that?
Again, that maybe we could reach out to DOT and see whether there's that possibility. So I mean, again, we're not going to get an attachment this summer, so we have all summer to figure that out. We just hopefully can get it before the winter.
Loader pump. Okay.
But that kind of answers. That's kind of leads into that roadside mowing. But right now we have nothing. We haven't put it out to bid because we don't get any bids. So that may be one of those. We just have to find somebody that can do it, and then it's a question of how much. So.
We're open to suggestions.
Yeah.
Well, from the contractor's point of doing that, it's not a very profitable business because you cut a lot of tires on the side of the road when they are mowing it.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
The amount of money they got to collect to offset that is.
Absolutely.
Yep. Well, and that's why I thought if we could somehow do it ourselves and get the unit, then I'm saying it might be worth it because then you have a laborer that all you have to do is drive it. Can't be that complicated to do that.
Might take them a while.
Yeah, no kidding.
So.
Yeah.
Telephone poles, one stop sign, but you'll get it. That's good. Cemetery mowing.
Yep.
Who's overseeing the contract now? I got a couple of comments back again from actually standing out there again that their cemeteries are not being cut this year and they were last year.
Okay, they are being cut.
What do you mean by cemeteries? Like the veterans ones?
Right.
Oh, okay.
They haven't been touched this year and they were done last year. So.
Yeah. Good. I mean.
Is it the same person doing the mowing for the cemeteries?
Yep. Same person doing all the mowing. Did it last year.
Well, maybe
we've already got a bill.
Maybe we should look into, who they are and what they.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't. Did they say what cemetery?
And one of them was up on Smith Road, in the field. They have not been, per the person, they have not been in there this year.
So yeah, I mean, again,
I'm not sure what the other one was they were talking about, but I didn't catch that name. So I don't know.
I mean, again, that's kind of the road commissioner thing, and without a road commissioner, there isn't any oversight.
Can you make a note of that?
Yeah.
Smith Road was certainly one, and then.
Did they give us a list of where they mow? I mean, we must have given them a list of
list of
cemeteries.
cemeteries.
We gave them that.
Yep.
So we'll have to investigate.
Yeah, I didn't know if we had a different party this year that was doing it.
No, it's the same
Same
person,
people.
So.
Okay.
And we have a contact, so we'll reach out to them and.
Does anybody that we have left in the organization know where all the cemeteries are?
Do they actually know? We have a list,
That
but
we
do they
had.
has anybody actually walked them? Probably not. I don't.
I know I went once when Larry was with us, and he showed me most all of them, but I can't remember.
Well, we had a pretty good map. I know, we used to have a pretty good map of all of them.
We were going to put GPS coordinates to it one time, but I know that never happened.
Yeah,
That would be good.
yeah.
Another one I'll talk to you about, but I'm looking at GIS. We're working behind the scenes on GIS mapping. I say behind the scenes because it's really not. It's kind of official, unofficial, free, kind of whatever. But it's. I'm getting there because again, remember shoreline zoning and all that kind of stuff. It's. And that would be another use. If I could do that myself. I have the software at home. If I had the GPS coordinates, I could pop those on there, no problem. And then print it out and with all the roads and everything else, that would be helpful. So, and that may just be a matter of taking a visit, and cell phones have GPS in them now, and just standing in the center of the cemetery and looking at your cell phone and writing down what the GPS coordinates are. So
For future.
So we can plot it all out. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. The next
And even on the list, put the GPS coordinates right on the list, and that way they can do that as well. So
the next couple of questions probably falls more into the executive area, so I'll let those go.
Save those. Okay. And that's all you had?
That's it for now.
All right. We kind of stumbled across this, but I wanted to do last year. I wanted to do on the 20. Is that next week? No, 28th. Is it 20? What's on? Was something else? Is that the Tri-Town? That's not the.
No, that's next week.
That's next Thursday.
I have that to tell them as well. The 28th to do appointments. So because all our appointments are July 1 to, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know, because when we get some of them, they're different.
Well, we're trying to get them all, cause some of them, we're trying to get them all done.
Mm-hmm.
So when Dale gets back, that's one of the things, if she can get those all set. So Jenny, if you could touch base with her.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of fumbled our way through that last year just because rather than, I think it makes sense to just try to get them all done on one night because it should be a fairly standard.
Especially if they run out July 1st, they need to be appointed.
So it should be fairly standard for for all your positions and clerk and deputy, all those. It should be fairly standard to do. So you just do that every year, first or the last meeting in June or whatever.
Yeah, no, it's a cool idea.
So that's that. Just to let you know, on my mind right now, you'll find I need deadlines. I need to know what I'm working towards. Just keeps me on track because there's so much that you could get lost on what's next. So my thinking is what is next for the board to make sure they keep their eye on is the commitment.
The what?
Commitment.
Tax commitment.
I mean, I don't think there's anything between now and the commitment, right? That we need to keep our eye on to make sure we're... Part of that is assessing, so they're actually coming next week, is it? They're coming, John O'Donnell's coming next week to do a bunch of field work. Bringing 5 guys, so they're gonna be out and about. He's also gotta do like 25% of the town as well. He's gotta start doing measurements and
But
stuff.
we should put that out there on the website.
He will,
so people are aware that if they see people, that's what they're doing.
Yep.
I think they're gonna send us the vehicle.
The vehicle stuff and the credentials and.
Yeah.
So, but that's just, on my mind, this commitment is getting us ready to get there, so that's just kind
Kind
of.
of what you do with tax commitment now is using them, right?
Huh?
You do your tax commitment now.
Yes, correct. So, yep, so that's that. Road study. So I asked, because it just passed, so the 16,000, it was with Gorilla Palmer. Did you ever see this? You probably didn't.
No.
I have a sample study we can use. Probably not. I thought I had it over here. Relish. Sample one here. I even have a copy for that, but I'm looking to see. Can actually have that. It's a copy. This is kind of this is one that they did not too long ago, and so this kind of gives you a report of what they do. So they give us a report as well as they're going to fill up a database with all the information. So they basically, so that's basically what the referendum was to do, and I got that through the convention last year. They were up there talking about it, and so that's why. And the reason, because I think it will help prioritize what roads we need to get done. Plus, it will then gives us a database. The DOT has a database that we can buy like for $100. It's like really cheap. And what this does is this will then populate that database of all our roads. So if, again, right now, because somebody tell me when the last time XYZ road was paved. I don't know. 1 year blends into another year, even on these roads. So it's,
Right.
there's no way of knowing. And so this really keeps, now you have a history. There could be a history up in the roads office. There might be documents up there, but having this database makes it very easy for everybody to see. Some of the cracks might be, when they look at those cracks, they tell you something about what's happening underneath the road. That's why you have engineers do it, so they can kind of tell you. So that's the purpose of this whole thing, is to get. And then I'm actually hoping that this should be done this summer, and then next year when it comes to budget. Right now, my thought, I don't have a number, but my thought is to add an additional referendum item that says add X amount of dollars additional to the CIP to do these roads, and actually have a plan. So you do the regular 150 that we normally do, so that if you don't combine them, because if they say no, then you got nothing. You have no money to pave. So you do the 150, so at least we have that part. But then you do an additional, and again, 200, 300, 500. I don't know. But
Right.
now that we have a plan, and then let's really try to dig in and get some roads, because roads is probably one of the biggest complaints in town. So, and then we just throw it out there, and if they vote in favor of it, then we get some roads done. If they don't vote in favor of it, then we continue the way we go. So that's kind of my thought. So I reached out to Gorell Palmer and asked him, Will Haskell. I said, hey, what do we need to do? And he goes, this has Town of Lebanon authorized signature down here. Just sign it and get it back to me. And basically, just so if you look at the last page, it's basically a 15,100 is, and then it's reimbursable is about 850 is what they think. So, and the referendum was for 16,000. So that covers the two, is what that was. So, I'll entertain a motion to have me sign off on this and get it to Gorell Palmer so we can get on their calendar.
I'll make a motion that can I just read it? That I make a motion that the chairman signs off on the Gorell Palmer road study that was voted on by the residents of Lebanon on June 12th.
Second motion.
All those in favor? Look. Okay. can you scan me a copy of that tomorrow? And then I'll email it over to him, but that way you have the original. Less than I have. So that's that off my list. Highway projects, so I already told you those. Highway equipment, so we already kind of covered that, right?
Mhm.
Ambulance purchase, you're all set on that, right? And I guess he's going down the 27th to talk to Lifeline about specs and all that kind of stuff. So that's where that is. Purchase orders. I don't know what you did versus what we do now, as far as on purchase orders from different. So, we basically have purchase orders from everybody for what they're buying, with the exception of the chief. He's been, because we really haven't said anything, probably doing more of it, but the intent is to have him just do like the medicine and stuff instead of coming through us, because I mean, what am I looking at? I mean, we need the drugs, we need the medicines for that. So am I really gonna, am I gonna say, oh no, not this one, and yes, this, I mean, so, and we need them. So kind of, that's something that he does on his own. Anything that's, they need like emergency wise, like I need it now, he does on his own. And then any other kind of routine type of stuff is what we have purchase orders for. So it's kind of they have a credit card, so we need to get the receipts for that. So it makes it easier. We have Amazon Prime now, the office does, so we can get stuff quicker, and we do a lot of shopping comparison through Amazon to see if it's cheaper that way through other places. So that's kind of what we do on purchase orders.
Okay.
That's similar to what you were doing, that you guys are doing before.
Yeah, well, basically we were just signing the purchase orders when I was there, so
Okay.
we're working through the hard part of that.
Okay. Yep. So, budget.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to ask you, do you have a report that you review periodically that tells you your status of what's been spent versus what's been budgeted?
Yeah. Yeah, he does expense reports every week, every 2 weeks for me.
Okay.
He'll do it whenever you ask. If you ask him, run him. He does the postings on Thursday, I think. So a lot of times it's either late or. He's been slacking on it though. He used to get it weekly. He's been slacking. In the middle of the summer, he kind of slacked. Hey, slacker.
Didn't mean to get him in trouble.
When you get expense report, can you run me an expense report?
Yeah, I was waiting for you guys to sign AP that I had in there. So that I could put that in there.
Okay. Do one for tomorrow?
Yeah, that's fine. Are you guys gonna sign that tonight?
Yes.
So,
yes.
Oops. It's
That's
not.
that's that.
Right. Do you want me to hold on to that? Or
Yeah,
you guys,
yeah. No, hang on, yeah.
I just don't want to leave it out. So the other thing is on these, because I only signed, so I don't know, you guys used to do these in meeting, is that correct?
Yes.
So we don't do these in the meeting, and I kind of mentioned, but I'll do it in a public session. We don't actually do these in the meeting anymore. We don't make a motion to sign off on these because we're already signing them. So that in and of itself is saying that you, that you approve it.
Right.
So, because otherwise we'll be here all night long. So, you could find out payroll, he normally wants us in here sometime Monday, Tuesday at the latest. I'm normally here almost every day for at least an hour, so I'll go through them and sign it. So he normally, even though he's only required to have one signature for payroll, he really likes to have 2 or 3. Just, you know what I'm saying? He'd prefer it just because he wants everybody to see what's going on, so everybody's aware of it. So, yeah, you could talk to him to find out exactly when he leaves them out here, so exactly when they're going to be there. But if you want him to text you and say, hey, text you when it's ready, so you know the schedule to come over and do it. I mean, again, it's however you want to do that, but it basically would be just going through it on your own, and then if you approve of it, then to sign off on it. So, both for payroll and for AP. And it's
And
done.
if you have questions, you could put a sticky.
Yeah, and I
on
do
it.
stickies on him.
He
I do
does,
stickies on him, or if he's here. If he's not here, I do stickies. If he's here, I just bust in his office and ask him. So
We can do that.
that's that. So
I'm very nice, I don't yell.
Much?
So, these all do need signatures though.
They do.
So, if one of you guys could sign these tonight so he can do some work this evening.
And we gotta sign this, or
What's that?
that's this. Remember, he fixed it or something.
Oh, did he already? Oh. Alright, this is all fixed, so I'll entertain a motion to, well, we all sign it, right, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but still, then.
I'll make a motion to adopt the policy on the treasurer's disbursement warrants for employee wages and benefits, education costs, and state fees.
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Did you do them or did he do them?
He did.
What did you miss?
The Arcan.
Huh?
The Arcan.
Just one line it. I'll tell him to change on his. I missed it. I can't. That's why I looked different. The Arcan, did I miss it? Oh.
Good thing you.
Hey, third line down under A. Oh, where do you go? Top of the wall. Oh, shit.
We'll fix that again.
Hey, go look at the original. This R was crossed out on the original I gave you, and you still missed it.
Jenny, what are you doing?
Are you kidding?
That's okay, we signed off on it, didn't we? It's all signed, I think. But change it in your computer so that way we don't have to do this again next year. Budget committee write-ins, you should have these in your box. So we're gonna have to go through that as far as, we had one that was elected, but then we have 2 more openings.
And we have 3 people with 3
And we have 3
votes,
people
so
with fours.
we can't do that. We can't appoint, we can't. I mean, we have,
We don't, do we have the power to choose?
I wouldn't
between
think
those
so,
4?
because each person got 3 votes. And we only
Well,
need
4
2.
votes. The way those, if their name was there, that was 1. And then if they got a second one, that's how they did it.
Okay,
Just saying.
okay, so the answer is still,
Yes,
there's
there's 3
3
with 4
people
votes.
with 4 votes, so we can't put anybody there, cause we can't do that. There was 2 open positions.
So therefore they're elected, but we can't, but we can still appoint.
We're gonna
those
have to
positions.
appoint people, correct?
Right.
Right, but we can't,
So if it was a clear winner, then that person would be it? Is
would
that
be
correct?
elected, yes, yeah.
But because it was a tie and there's no
Yeah.
such thing as a runoff.
No.
See, if we had ranked choice voting, we would have solved that, Carl. I'm kidding.
Yeah, do you realize what you're saying?
No, I'm not going.
From a different standpoint than,
I'm not going there. Relax, people.
it would
That was a
take
joke.
3
That was a
weeks
joke.
for us to
That was a-
figure out who got
That was a
the.
joke. Okay,
So no, so we can't, because we had
But
3
we can
people,
still use that to help guide us on who to appoint if we want to.
or we can just put it out there and, I mean, we don't know if these people wanted it, or
Okay.
people just wrote them in.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
So my suggestion would be just to put it out there. If you are interested,
So you know for a
please,
fact that we can't choose 2 out of those 3 and they get the position. So that's been done in the past.
I would check with MMA, but how could you do that? If 3 people tied for selectmen, how would you choose? You can't do that. I don't think you can do that.
What would happen? So it's-
They'd have a runoff. Probably. You, because
Selectmen, you
a top-
have a runoff.
yeah, I mean, these people,
So the
even though they're
selectmen-
write-ins, they're
So
still,
the selectmen don't have the power where it's a committee to help.
it's an
instead of doing
elected
a runoff?
position.
Yeah.
It's an elected position, no. And I would not do that. I wouldn't feel comfortable. I don't think that's right. That's just me.
I don't necessarily disagree with you, I'm just,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not
but it
gonna,
was kinda done before, so that's why I just.
well, I don't know what's done before. We're moving
No, I know
forward.
that. I know
We're
that.
moving forward. We're
No,
leaving the
I-
past
I-
behind,
I-
right?
I agree.
Isn't that what you say?
I do.
Okay.
I say it all the time. So.
I just think,
Okay,
you know, you
Okay.
put it out there, and if someone wants to, because you, technically, you don't know if these people wanted it or people just wrote them
I
in.
agree, Paul and I were talking about that earlier, I actually thought it didn't matter, because if they were put down, if they won, but if one person.
If they had won, that
If
would
they
be
had won, it
different.
doesn't matter whether they want to, they still won.
Yes, and they could decline and say,
Okay.
I don't want it,
Right.
obviously.
Right.
Like any of these other people could that got
Right.
elected too, but
They
I'm
just
just
don't,
saying.
they just don't swear themselves in, so they decline, not get sworn.
No, they can decline it, but
Right.
what I'm saying is, I think the
Okay.
right thing to do, cause you only need 2 more.
Yes.
And we have to do an alternate too, but let people that wanna do it, are interested, put their name in, put a letter of interest or an application, whatever. We have applications, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Have them do that and then we can go from there.
Okay,
If
you
you
concur-
agree
do you
to that,
concur?
or I don't.
I feel more comfortable with that
Yeah,
than.
well, absolutely.
so we'll put an announcement that we're looking for budget committee members, we have 2 openings,
And an alternate.
and an alternate, and
So if they would like, to, and make sure they're specific.
didn't we have some form that we just amended recently, not too long
Yes.
ago, that we could please
Yeah.
fill out a XYZ form
Yeah,
to show?
and just make sure they
express
say
your
whether
interest?
cause the alternate position would be for 1 year.
Right,
And then these would be for a 3-year
for
term.
3 years.
So, yeah,
Yep. Alright,
okay,
alright, good.
Yeah.
So I'm good with that one. Station 1, was there a hole in the floor when you were still in?
Yes.
There was.
It was just starting.
Okay, so they hadn't opened it yet, okay. So we now own Station 1, well, I shouldn't say that, we have permission from the people to accept the gift. So I've already reached out to the attorneys, to find out what the next step is. So they're reaching out to the other attorneys, so we can,
Mhm.
JT already saw me and says, hey, I'm ready to sign off, just let me know when. So we just need to sign papers, and then it will be ours, and then we'll need to sit down with Chief to, come up with a strategy for what we wanna do with the station.
We are using it now, though, right?
Station 1, we're using it primarily as a storage for some vehicles, it's not being
No, people are working out,
manned.
but there is
Right.
equipment there.
oh, yeah, Yeah.
So I mean, it's, because of the floor, there's a possibility of the whole site, the whole site tends to sink. So I don't think the desire is either at the station or with me anyways, to sink a lot of money in there. But
So words, I'm not sure it was a good one, but.
yeah, we'll sink, yeah, exactly, yeah, it just comes out that way. But I also don't think having a huge hole in the floor is the right thing to do either.
Right.
So I think there's gotta be we gotta get that filled to some degree, and, so get a kind of a strategy a minimalist type strategy for repair. So, so that's where we're at. So I'm waiting on that. Okay, next one, by the way, these are in no particular, password for Paul is done on protection 1, cool. You can sign that one.
Did you do that?
Upper Guinea Road property, not sure if you're aware, but the grow facility, the medical marijuana grow facility on Upper Guinea Road is now ours. So the town
The one that's gonna
acquired
be the
that
pig farm?
through taxes.
The one that's gonna be the pig farm?
Yes,
Is
exactly.
that where it was back then?
Yep. So the town, they didn't pay their taxes for the 3 years they had it. So the town foreclosed on it last year, and they never paid, and we reached out to them, we posted stuff, we own that, I think, was it February? I don't know.
Yeah,
something like
whenever
that,
we foreclosed,
whatever. you know, and then even then we gave them another 30 days, whatever, and nope. So, yeah, so we own it. Because it's a medical marijuana grow facility, it's also a commercial facility, and it's also that facility plus the house.
The little house.
There's a little house there too. So, the attorneys are looking into it. As far as they know, procedure-wise, we did everything right. We just want to make sure we're done, cross all our T's and dot all our I's. They're doing a title search right now, so I should have an email out to the attorneys to say where we at, where's the status. We're having a preliminary meeting, a workshop on the 19th. Is that correct? Next
I thought it
Tuesday,
was-
right?
Next Tuesday.
It is Tuesday.
It's next Tuesday at 6 or is that 5?
No, it's earlier, I think.
I thought it was 6, but let me double check.
Did we get any responses? We were gonna put it on the website, right?
I thought you did put it on those.
I think it's at 5:30. I have it at 5:30,
You have it at 5:30.
yeah.
Um,
And she was gonna put it on the website to open it up if anybody wanted
So,
to.
but the workshop is to talk about potential uses for that
Ideas.
facility if it comes to fruition, which I have a funny feeling it can. From community center, big community center. I mean, it's big. I mean, so it's also 7 acres. So the thought it also is take the house, 2 acres, split that, auction that off just like we do other stuff. So we get that part back on the tax rolls. And then what's left,
5:30.
Okay,
530.
and you're gonna put an email out to invite people.
And then what's left is 5 acres with that big grow facility. And then we open it up inside and you have a huge, you could have functions there, you could have all sorts of stuff. You could have Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts can meet there. You're also-
Voting,
You could do voting there, it could be,
That would be awful nice.
wouldn't it?
it could be a warming shelter.
Yeah.
So again, we don't really have one, we can maybe use the school, but again, we have a generator up there, we can move the generator down to there. So there's all sorts of different possibilities that probably don't cost a lot. The other thing is it's pretty flat there, and it's not too swampy there. So my other thought is we could also have a community garden. And there's plenty of, it's fairly open, so you could have easy parking. So yeah, there's a lot of, so we're trying to get a workshop with different groups of interest to come in. You know, it's easy access for handicap because it's all one floor, it's not huge, I mean,
Yeah,
so like up there is now, you know, that's an issue up there. Certainly for handicap and to make it ADA safe, ADA compliant, so that's a whole nother set. So, but anyway, so that's happening on Tuesday. So, because there's been a lot of interest for a community center, a lot of interest for that kind of stuff. There's been a lot of interest about a farmer's market. So again, you could do that during the summer. Right there, again, it's perfect location. You know,
I can't believe they walked away from that.
I can't either. That's why we are triple checking to make sure everything is kosher.
Yeah.
There's 2 excavators there. Don't know whether those become ours because they're on our property. We'll have to do everything right. We'll have to, and again, it's commercial, so I don't know, and it's medical marijuana, which we're not allowed, I mean, we own it, and there's also issues that now we own a medical marijuana grow facility. Are we even allowed to in the town? So there's some legal issues that we're working through. So, but that's, so, yeah. So, I mean, I'm a little excited. I'm trying to, hold back, but I think it has a great possibility. Now, I haven't been inside of it. For all I know, inside could be
Paul
built,
had,
but inside could be built that there's no way you'd end up destroying the facility to remove walls. I don't know if it's that or not. I don't know how it's built inside. I don't know whether they're concrete walls. They could be wood walls that you can take. I don't know. I haven't been in it, so I really don't know.
Wasn't that made out of foam?
I don't know.
They made that out of foam.
So the walls aren't foam walls?
Yeah.
In which case, then you could take them down pretty easily. And then you have a huge, so literally, if you had that whole entire building, You could split it in half. You could split it in quarters and still have it. It's a big building.
No, it's unique. They use unique structure.
So, but anyways,
you get the permits back then.
so. So that's that. That's kind of that's one of those little fun projects actually that we get to do here instead of all the unfun stuff. I want to bring it up because we haven't really talked about it, but we want to maybe start planning for our summer barbecue. It's normally towards the end of the summer.
In the fall.
In the fall.
We did it in September? Is that when we did it last year?
So last year we did a barbecue for employees. We're thinking about opening it up to all employees plus volunteers, so committee members and that kind of stuff. We did it at Skydive last year. They have a little place right outside. They have the building, and then they have a place where you can barbecue outside. And so we just
And they were jumping. It was really nice.
And they were
Have you ever
jumping
been
in.
down there?
No one's active.
Oh, that's really.
yeah,
It's
we did it on the
really,
weekend. It
yeah,
was a lot
nice.
of fun.
It was nice.
It was a
People
lot
had
of
fun.
fun. So
You have to duck there once in a while.
no.
No, it's pretty cool actually.
So no, it was a good time. So so we're just trying to so we probably ought to at least maybe look to try to set a date here at some point just so we can get it on people's calendars and that kind of stuff. And so just let's see. Labor Day, so we're not sure yet, but this is coming down the pike. Labor Day is you have Skydive has the Tiki Fest.
Yep.
And 4x4 Proving Grounds has their event. And they're bringing in somebody else that's also big, like Monster, some other 4x4 Proving Grounds.
Did we ever? Now that you're bringing that up, how did we ever get responses about having a little debriefing on the last event?
When's that debriefing?
Next week. The 21st, I think.
No,
Is that next
the
Thursday?
21st. We're not going to be here.
Yeah, so it's the
Well, we have to go to the school, that meeting at the school.
28th.
So that's the 28th as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
At what time?
It's just at the meeting, the 5:15 meeting, so I think.
Have you had any response?
Yes.
Did the Zellos
The
respond?
Zellers responded.
To the state police?
Here. I haven't heard from state police.
I mean, they didn't know this in the last time, but you might still reach out.
Yeah.
So step back, we're doing a debrief of the event that was just down there. Okay, at the 4x4 Proving Grounds, because they had a couple of events, they had an incident down there that was, so we're just doing a debrief. What worked well, what can we do that's make it any better? So that's that. But the Labor Day event is gonna be even bigger, and then you have the Tiki Fest event.
Mhm.
And the chief is feeling that with both of those events going on at the same time, if anything happens, it really puts our department at a stressing point.
Yeah.
So he's thinking about perhaps getting the EMA command center
Mhm.
in town so that we can, because again, you have other towns that are on call, and just so that way we have the response that we can handle for that, for anything that happens at their events, as well as what happens for the town. So that's because the point is that we need to provide services for the town first, but we have these big events going on that, you know what I'm saying? And so these events need to be able to pay for any extra services we need to bring in to make sure that we're covered for that.
As my question was going to be then.
So, 4x4 has done that in this last event, so it's a little bit different, so they pay, I think the bill was like $1,200. Something like that. I think it was around $1,200 for this last event. So they had 2 EMTs, our ATV was there, and staffing for an ambulance. So, and they paid that directly, and that's over and above, our coverage is over and above what we have normally for the town. So again, we just, at some point, we want to get probably Skydive in here, 4x4 Proving Grounds, soon the chief, maybe even York County EMA or whatever, to try to brainstorm how are we going to make this work so that everybody's can have your event, but how can we make it safe so that we can respond, so we can, if anything happens. So that's coming down the pike. So The, go ahead, do you have-
It's just a lot of activity around one little town
Oh, yeah.
on one day.
Yep.
Or one weekend.
Well, yeah, that's, I mean, because the Tiki event is always their big one, you know, and they burn this thing up, so they got this huge bonfire, and you know, also a lot of drinking going on in town, and so, you know, the next item is the vent system. You may not have been in part of the conversation because it was neither station has what they call a vent system. A vent system is when it's one thing when you're a volunteer and you're not running engines and you're not hanging out in the station, you're just going there to pick up a piece of equipment and go to a scene. But when you're actually hanging out in the station, all those fumes from the vehicles, because they start up and they have to warm up before you take them out, all those fumes are just staying in the station. And it's all diesel fumes, which, you know, aren't pleasant. And so most stations have what they call some sort of a vent system. A lot of them are some sort of hose arrangement that then goes over the exhaust pipe. So all that stuff gets vented outside. And a lot of it automatically comes off when they leave. There's just different systems. But that's so in the budget committee, we worked on adding money to the building one, right? Right. And that's also why the language for the building CIP was modified a little bit to allow us to modify buildings. It wasn't just it wasn't purely maintenance. Because we asked whether this would be, and it really isn't considered maintenance, it's really a modification. And so that allows that now. And so that's partly why that amount was increased in that building CIP, was to then allow us to put a vent system in Station 2, which was their primary station. So, and that's really more for the health of the responders so that they're not breathing in diesel fumes all day long. So that was really kind of a priority to try to get that done. And rather than asking for it directly, it was felt this was a better way to do it. We do have some money already in the building fund, so we didn't have to fully fund it. We already have some that we can use out of that CIP. So that's what that is. And so he's going down to this convention down in Foxwoods where there's a lot of vendors, these vent systems vendors, and so he's going to start looking for prices and stuff and looking who can bid for it and that kind of stuff. So that's where that stands. Land use ordinance. I was at the planning board. You weren't there though this last Monday, right?
No.
So I'm in the process of putting together what's called a land use ordinance. Let's see if I have it in here. Oh, there's so much stuff in here. I don't think that's it. No. I don't have it right here, but basically if you go to most other towns, a lot of them have what they call as a zoning ordinance because they have zoning. We don't have zoning. We can't have zoning. We don't have a comprehensive plan. What the zoning does is it gives you districts. But essentially, the only difference between a zoning ordinance and what they call a land use ordinance is zoning. Everything else is basically the same. So zoning would say, well, the residential, your setbacks are X, Y, Z. Commercial, we don't have that. So everything's the same for everything. But we have 11. I can't get there. We have 11 ordinances that are basically land use ordinances that should all be under one ordinance. So we have trailer parks, mobile home parks, tenting, recreational, sign ordinance, which is actually called an advertising ordinance. We have the subdivision ordinance, small little one about every 5 years. Like one small little paragraph, that's a whole ordinance. I mean, that should, and actually I think that's a state law. So one would argue that whether we even need it. Yeah. We have a building code ordinance, we have a MUBEC adoption ordinance, we have 2 zoning ordinances that have never been repealed. They've been amended many times. We have a lot size ordinance, which is predominantly the one that we're using right now. And everything was amended to amended to move towards the lot size. But then there's a couple of things that nothing ever got done with. And then never repealed the ordinance. So it's all still in place. So where all this came from was when we hire a code enforcement officer with 20 plus years of experience asking, okay, what am I enforcing? What are the rules? What are the laws? What are the... And okay, well, where's this? And well, where it tells me to do this? Oh, over here it tells me. I mean, there was no sense. There was some stuff that conflicted. One thing would say one thing, another thing would say something else. Does one supersede the other one? Not really. Some language is loose, so it's open to interpretation. Being on planning board, you know how bad that is.
Right.
You need to define these things, otherwise, who knows where it can go. So the land use ordinance that I'm trying to put together is designed to bring all of these things in together, tighten up the language where it can be tightened up, not really change anything. And so all these different ordinances are basically like a different paragraph, part of this land use, not paragraph, chapter. So but they all stay. So again, keeping most of the language the same, unless it needs to be updated because state laws change or something like that. And then just trying to tighten up language that's too loose and trying to get rid of the conflicting language. So it's not really adding a bunch of new stuff or making these huge changes. It's just trying to make it some reasonable, ordinance that makes sense. That everything's all in one place.
That's the key.
We have a building height. We actually have an ordinance that's building height, but that's lost. That is buried in the old building ordinance that nobody ever looks at. It's also a MUBEC, but so it's just all these things that all these inconsistencies I'm trying to bring together. I called Southern Maine Planning to see, is that something they could help us out with? Yeah, they could, but it's gonna cost $5,000. I don't have $5,000. So I'd rather do the legwork myself. I'm cutting and pasting and copying and pasting to this one document. Then working with him to try to narrow it down. The one new thing, and this is what I brought up to the planning board this past Monday, is I'm adding in what's called a site plan review. So site plan review, and you see there's actually a model. There's a whole state thing, big PowerPoint. I can share it to you electronically, and they actually have a model ordinance. Most towns have this, and the reason, and so for example, here you per example, Dunkin' Donuts came in. They came into the planning board, right? They wanted you to review their stuff, and you go, well, you don't have to, but they're used to that because most every other town they have to. It's no different than subdivision. You have a site plan review, and you have all these standards that are all in here. There's normal standards. Parking. Make sure parking is appropriate. Make sure your entranceways are appropriate. All this for anything that's non-residential. So their use is appropriate. Again, Dunkin' Donuts, where do they put their trash? Does their trash get sit on the side of 202? If you don't have a site plan review, they could do that.
Right.
Now, they don't, but anybody can do that.
Right.
So in here, you have a normal standard that it shall be screened. So you can't see it. It shall be, so therefore again, it's no different than a subdivision review. You just say they have to fall within certain guidelines that are fairly standard, but it gives the town some control of non-residential property and what goes in, what uses go in. Right now, nobody has to tell us. They can buy a piece of property on 202 and put whatever they want in. Town doesn't even have to know. Because there's no requirement, there's no site plan requirement. So even though there's other ordinances, like a sign ordinance, and I can tell you the sign ordinance is there's signs on 202 that don't comply with our sign ordinance. So, because again, it never goes before review. They probably didn't know. And nobody was telling them. Dunkin' Donuts knows about it because they came in here and we told them about it. So they know about our sign, what the requirements are. But that was only because they were giving us the courtesy of reviewing with us. But per law, per ordinance, they didn't have to. So regular businesses will because they figure they have to anyways. So basically, and I'm not looking to. I'm only looking to make this is the basic model, which is what I'm using. I'm not adding anything, I'm not, I'm subtracting it if it says ocean, sand dunes, because we don't have any of that. So the stuff that really doesn't apply to Lebanon, I'll delete that, but other than that, it's pretty much the same. And I'm looking at, Cape Elizabeth has one that's almost exactly word for word what this is. So again, most towns are using the state model. So that's why, I went to planning board, because what happens is most of this goes to the planning board to do. You can set up a schedule of uses, so that simple stuff can go to the code enforcement officer. So not everything has to go, so again, somebody who wants to do a daycare, that's non-commercial. That goes to the code enforcement officer to sign off on that. But it may be out of their house, but it's still a non-residential. So simple stuff like that would go straight to the code enforcement officer to sign off on it, rather than having to go before the planning board. So,
No, sounds good.
So that's something I'm working on. I'd like to get that. My goal is to try to have that done by November ballot. I need to have it done earlier because I want to have several public hearings, so that the people can put their input in, ask questions, to make sure it's totally, because this is kind of totally new to them. But I just want to, but it's just trying to make common sense and put everything together in, one document. So that's the design. So
The shoreline zoning one went through.
Yep.
I can picture this doing the same if you have it presented right.
Yeah. I mean, again, and I'm not trying to change anything. I'm really not. I mean, that's what I try to make it. I'm just trying to consolidate it and organize it and make it so it actually makes some sort of sense. And then you have one document that you do, just like shoreline zoning. You review that one document, you do changes, and if we ever get zoning, now we have a document that's perfectly all set up. We just put in the districts, and it's an easy fit. So
That sounds very good.
right. So that's what that is. Tri-town meeting. We have tri-town meetings now with the other two. Berwick was set for SAD 60. When is that meeting again?
Is the 21st.
That's next Thursday at 6:30.
That's 6.
I think it's at 6.
I think it's at 6.
think
It's over at the school.
It's at, probably in the library.
Probably in the library
That's
we were
where the
last
last
time.
one was, at Noble,
It's
At
at 6
Noble?
at the
Noble.
library.
in the library, yeah, at 6.
I might have forwarded an email today, or maybe I looked and I didn't find a good one to email. I think I was looking to forward you something. Essentially what this is, this came from the school funding formula fiasco, to put it in an easy way. And so what came out of that is that perhaps I think the towns used to at some point get together, and then that stopped for a while. So this is basically the start of the towns getting together as a group.
And
So-
communicating.
Communicating.
Sounds a lot smarter.
So that's the design. It's also with the school board. I'll be honest, I'm not crazy about that because the school board is for the schools is kind of how I look at it. So I don't want to be, I hope these meetings aren't all about the school, because that's what the school board's for.
Mhm.
We have people from our town that are on the school board. We have 3 members, right? 2 members.
3.
3, thank you. So
Each
3.
town has 3.
That's what I thought. So let them do it. I don't need to be
Well, I think
involved in that.
he's gonna talk, the superintendent put this together, remember, cause we
Well,
wanted to have that
Right,
meeting.
but I think where it's also thing is it helps for regional for us to ask, hey, how do you do that? And again, this would be a perfect example, and I might very well, now that I think about it. Hey, we have these 2 big events coming up in Labor Day. What would you guys do?
Well, they all have police too.
But they have police.
Yeah.
So that's where, but you can share ideas between the towns.
Well, it looks like you opened up a conversation.
Conversation,
Yep.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I guess, and so my point is
That's good.
yeah, and so that's what I'm saying is I would actually like it to see just the 2 towns, and let's leave the school out of it, because that's the school board, and I don't wanna, but
Well, I think he's gonna update
we'll
us
see, I'm just playing it by ear right now,
the
we'll
state
see.
and
Yep,
the money
yep.
and all that, because,
Right,
it was-
well, everybody's about the state and the money, but I don't know what, again, I'm not sure that we can control a whole lot, so while I may be interested, it is kind of is what it is, but we'll see.
We'll be there.
But this is the first one, so we'll let it go and see what happens. So
That's good. Good move.
that's that one. Okay, I did that one. Probably Oh, law firms, legal. We have, so we have two law firms. We have, our primary law firm is, and I know them for Drummond Woodson. Amy Chow is the lead municipal attorney there. And then we have a couple of land use attorneys that we're using. And then we're still using Bernstein Shore for personnel. I don't know, did you use Bernstein when you were in?
Mm-hmm.
Did you have Ann Freeman, or did you have somebody before for personnel stuff? Who did you have? Do you remember the names?
I don't.
Okay.
It probably was her though, I think.
No, I think she came after somebody. Somebody was right before her, but I'm not positive. But regardless, basically, I didn't get a lot of attention. And again, I think.
And he likes attention.
Yeah, you know, well, when you have a legal question, I don't want to have to wait a month and a half or 2 months to get an answer. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
I'm not paying $250 an hour to wait 2 months for an answer. That's kind of how I look at it. So, and then you don't schedule a conference call with me for the next day to fill me in on status. And then when you talk about status, say, "Oh, I'll have to get back to you." It's kind of wasting your time and my time. So that's primarily why we shifted. But Ann Freeman at Bernstein was phenomenal on the personnel side for personnel type issues. So we use her for any personnel related matters, from union negotiations, which is also I'll talk about that in executive sessions, but we're in the middle of union contract negotiations.
Okay.
So she's involved with that, to personnel issues. Chief uses her. So again, the thing that we talked about earlier today, he had reached out to her for some guidance, because he deals with a lot of personnel stuff there. So he's really the only other department. He's the only other person that I let call directly. Other than that, everything flows through us. Land use, he can call directly through land use, although he doesn't have to call us just if he's got a case. And I'll go through that again in executive session, some of the things we have going on in court right now. There's a couple court cases going on.
Okay.
So that's basically who we have. I think it's working out well right now. So right now, I'm the primary contact person. I try to keep you guys in the loop as best I can. It's not, if you feel the need to go for it. But it's easier to have kind of one person being the primary contact. But that's by no means to say that you can't talk to any of the attorneys.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but it's to try to keep everybody in the loop.
Right.
So that's that. Law firms. July 4th holiday closing. When do we, right now, I think it's on the calendar to close that Tuesday because the 4th is a Wednesday.
Right.
Correct?
Yes.
Is that what most towns do? Is that only what we do because Wednesday is an off day for us?
Yes. And I think didn't it have something to do with the union, why we had to do that? Because other towns don't do that. I mean.
Well, I think it's because they'd be paid 50 hours. They get the day off. And I don't mind giving them another day off because otherwise they'd work 40 hours and then get 10 hours holiday. So they get a day off, but that's the holiday.
Yeah, I guess that's how that works.
So my thought is that they have Tuesday, but would Friday be a better day off? Same week. Doesn't have to be Tuesday.
Well, don't we have more foot traffic on Friday before the weekend? I would think so.
Fridays tend to be slower.
Fridays tend to be slower usually, but I don't know.
Yeah, you're talking about 4th of July week, so I don't.
Well, that's at the end of the week, though.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Tuesday is the day before 4th of July.
It's the 3rd, yeah.
So is everybody going to be? I don't know whether they're going to take off the week before or the half a week afterwards. I haven't got a clue.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just throwing it out there. I don't have an opinion either way. As an employee, I probably would prefer the Friday off because I have a 3-day weekend.
Absolutely.
But I'm also thinking from traffic, I don't know whether Friday would be slower than a Tuesday. Tuesdays are normally fairly busy. Or not. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
I thought we already said it was gonna be Tuesday. A long time ago when they brought this to our attention.
Did we actually decide on that?
Didn't we?
I thought so.
Yes.
Okay, then fine.
Yeah.
Whatever.
We already did
Okay.
that.
They're fine.
And I'm sure they'd like.
Think of that for next year.
I think they'd like 2 days, you know, those.
Nope, that's fine. Okay.
Because they wanted Thursday and we said no. Thursday was suggested
Oh,
and we said
Okay.
no.
Nope, that's fine. That's fine. What else do I have? I think that's all I have until executive session. For now. I think I probably forgot a couple of things to try to fill you in on, but just to catch you up to speed, but did you have anything?
Are we gonna elect a chairman and a vice chair?
Oh yeah, that would have been, why didn't you remind me to do that first?
I thought I told you to put it on the agenda, didn't I?
I don't know. I'm sorry. You're right. That should have been the first thing we did.
Well, I wanted you to have your, you know, long-winded.
We did talk about the chairman and
Yeah.
vice chairman at the very beginning.
Oh, yeah. I'll entertain motions.
So move, keep it as it is.
Do you wanna be the chairman?
It's fine.
Okay. Do you wanna be the chairman?
No.
No, okay, I don't either. Okay, so he's nominating you, I'll second that for chairman.
All those in favor?
Yes.
1 abstention. 2 in favor, 1
Well,
abstention.
you could vote for it, you know.
I don't have to though. So, cool. All right. And vice chair? I make a motion that Laura's vice chair.
Second.
All those in favor? You could have voted for it.
I know, but that wouldn't be right. Okay.
Right.
The only other
Can
thing
we go on now?
okay,
Good. You have anything for us?
I do.
Sorry, Paul. I should have done that first.
When we were talking about road commission, I just wrote this down. Dispatch, the contact number they probably have is Tommy. So we probably should contact them and give them a new contact number.
Yeah.
For road issues or whatever, you know, sometimes. Just a thought.
Yeah, and so who?
Obviously the chairman. Just a thought.
That's
Just,
what I call timing.
I mean,
Yeah.
until.
Now she brings it up.
Well,
Now
no,
she
but at
brings it
least
up.
until we decide or do something that they gotta have somebody.
And then what do I do?
Well, then you call the road. I don't
So
know.
I
I'm just. So I
Grab
just.
my chainsaw and go run out to cut that tree off the.
Yeah. Do you cut trees or do the fire department cut trees?
I
I
don't
don't
know.
think the fire department cuts trees. But no, I don't think. Well, I don't know. It depends whether it's electrical, whatever. I just thought of that.
No, that's fine. Dispatch.
Make a note.
Yeah.
Jenny. And I also wanted
Yeah, so
to
call dispatch. Give him my number.
mention the election. June
Yes.
12th election and
Yes.
how much we appreciated what
Yes.
everybody did, especially
Yes, I didn't write
Roxanne.
that down. I was gonna, but yes.
You know, they did a great job with what they did. All of you did, not just but Roxanne, you know,
Yeah.
was the moderator / warden, Jordan, Kathleen, Jenny, everybody who stepped up, and we really appreciate it, and especially Roxanne. We got
Yeah.
comments that we should about Roxanne and how good she did in
Yeah.
keeping everything together, so we just want to acknowledge that.
Yes. Thank you, Roxanne.
Thank you, Roxanne, and everyone else. And that's it.
All right. So I mentioned, that reminded me, I sent you guys an email. We have it in the general government budget. I wanted to buy the office lunch tomorrow. Because the last 2 weeks, so Dale's been out and Rebecca has resigned.
Right.
So this office has been short-staffed. Plus you had an election and absentee ballots, and it was a fairly large election. So it's been kind of crazy the last 2 weeks. So I really kind of wanted to show our appreciation and pick up lunch for them for tomorrow. So I'd like to make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Discussion.
All's in favor? Right. Can you coordinate that, Jenny?
Sure.
Thanks.
Now you're not serving the leftovers.
Within reason.
That would be a good idea, though, wouldn't it?
We're not getting lobsters.
I was trying to get rid of it the other night. I didn't know what he was up to.
No lobsters. So, all right, good.
It looks like lasagna, run.
What else?
Do you wanna ask if Dana, public input?
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to see if there's anything else I need to do before executive session. I don't think so. I don't remember. Public comments.
I've seen an improvement in the roads.
You have?
Yes.
Great.
Thank
We're
you.
getting there. Cool. You're welcome. Anything else?
And on the listing that we have of phone numbers,
Yeah.
I believe road commissioner is still
Yeah.
on there.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah, we'll fix that.
Can you-
Yeah.
You probably don't have that, do you?
On the website or?
No, you know the
The paper
the
listing.
paper that goes
has
out,
that.
yeah,
Can you
contact
get
list.
that? Just,
Yeah, but don't put my cell phone there.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm positive.
Okay.
Just leave it blank for the time being.
well, they can contact this office.
Yeah,
Jenny.
Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Great idea.
Well, she
So
does.
Chip's cell phone then.
You probably have to change it because it's Paul Mullen versus.
Yeah,
Rachel.
Paul Netto, and
Yeah.
you will just take a look at it and
I will.
just see what you
Just leave the
gotta.
last name off, it'll save you a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, have you updated the website
I did.
for Selectmen? Great.
Yep.
Good job.
In all the spots, are there multiple spots? You know how
I think I
sometimes
got them all, but yeah, there is.
There probably are. It's hard to find sometimes.
it's terrible.
Yeah.
You think you
I got
fixed
them
it and
all,
it's somewhere else.
Yep.
It's like, how'd they get there? Yeah.
I think on the website for this meeting now, it has a date of January?
The date of January?
Yeah.
No, what you will see sometimes is on the tab. If you hit something on the tab at the top, I've seen this on even other things. It has a weird date. That's like an old date or whatever. When it was ever the tab was either created, but it's not the actual date of the meeting. So that might be what you're thinking about is. But we have no way of controlling that.
And it
But the
didn't
actual-
have a description of what was to transpire.
You didn't have the agenda. I'm pretty sure the agenda was posted too.
I did it last week, I'm pretty sure.
Okay?
I'll double
Check
check
that
it,
out.
but-
Yeah.
She'll check that.
So, all right. I guess that is. So I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session. I might just do
Blah,
all
blah,
these
blah, blah.
per 4056 A, B, C, D, E. No, it's we have some personnel matters, which is 4056A.
We must have confidential.
We have some labor negotiations to talk about, which is 4056D. And it's probably confidential, which is 4056F. So that should cover it as far as what we're gonna be discussing.
I'll second it.
Alright, all those in favor?
Oh, and just anytime this blue light's on, it means we're being recorded, just so you